Hello, friends. Are you ready for a fun and heartwarming story? Today, let me tell you about a very special cat named Whiskers. Cat who thought he was a superhero. Once upon a time, in a charming little village surrounded by sprawling green fields, there lived a cat named Whiskers. Whiskers was no ordinary cat. He was convinced he was a superhero. Each day, he donned his makeshift cape, crafted from an old towel that had seen better days, and ventured out into the world to save the day. He would leap from fence posts as if flying through the sky, perch heroically on rooftops, and patrol the village with narrowed eyes and twitching whiskers. The villagers often chuckled at the sight of him, but to Whiskers, every flower petal blowing in the wind was a signal, every creak of a wooden gate a possible cry for help. He took his role seriously, very seriously. His favorite spot was a high rock near the old well, where he would sit proudly, chest puffed out, surveying the village like a guardian on duty. Though no one had ever actually called for him, Whiskers believed it was only a matter of time before his moment came, the moment when the village would truly need their silent, furry protector. One beautiful, sunny morning, as the warm rays of sunlight danced upon the ground, Whiskers stumbled upon a little mouse named Squeaky in a bit of trouble. Squeaky had gotten himself stuck in a tiny hole in the wall of an old barn. His tiny paws were frantically scratching, and his whiskers twitched with panic. Whiskers' heart raced with excitement. His eyes lit up as if he had been waiting for this moment his whole life. This is it. My golden opportunity to prove I'm not just a cat in a cape, but a true hero, he thought, tail flicking with anticipation. Without hesitation, he leaped forward, trying to squeeze his body through the narrow opening. His front paws fit, but the rest of him? Not even close. He squirmed, stretched, and even tried wiggling sideways, but the wall wouldn't budge, and neither would the hole. Through a few moments of struggle, he sighed and pulled back, his cape slightly crooked and covered in dust. Muscle won't save the day this time, he muttered, brushing off hay from his whiskers. But Whiskers wasn't one to give up easily. He sat down, eyes narrowing in deep thought. If strength can't help, then maybe brain power can. The gears in his head began to turn. Somewhere inside him, he believed every hero needed more than muscles. They needed a clever plan. And that's exactly what he was going to come up with. Without wasting a moment, Whiskers scurried through the village to find help from his furry friends. His little paws padded quickly along the cobblestone paths, cape fluttering behind him like a streak of red in the breeze. The first creature he encountered was Henry, the beloved dog of the village, a big, gentle golden retriever known for his loyalty and strength. "Henry, can you help Squeaky?" Whiskers asked, panting slightly, his voice filled with urgency and hope. Henry's ears perked up instantly, and his tail began wagging with excitement. "Of course," he barked with a wide doggy grin. Without hesitation, Henry bounded toward the old barn, his strong legs covering ground quickly. When they arrived at the wall, Henry gently peered into the tiny hole. Inside, Squeaky's frightened eyes stared back. "Don't worry, little guy. I've got you," Henry said warmly. He reached his big paw toward the hole, trying to nudge Squeaky out. But though Henry meant well, his size and strength were far too much for the delicate situation. With the first touch, Squeaky let out a panicked squeak and retreated deeper into the darkness. Henry froze, his tail drooping slightly. "Oh no!" I scared him, he said softly, ears folding back in guilt. Whiskers placed a paw on Henry's leg, offering comfort. You tried your best. But maybe we need a gentler approach. Undeterred, Whiskers pressed on and soon found Bella the bird perched on a nearby branch, chirping merrily. The morning sun cast a golden glow on her feathers, making her look almost magical. She was preening herself, humming a cheerful tune as if she didn't have a care in the world. Bella, can you fly down and help Squeaky? Whiskers called out, his voice hopeful yet urgent. Bella fluffed her feathers with elegance and tilted her head proudly. Of course. A hero in need is a call I must heed, she chirped confidently, puffing out her tiny chest like a knight in shining feathers. With a graceful swoop, she glided down from the branch and landed gently next to the tiny hole in the barn wall. She peered inside and saw 2 trembling whiskers and a pair of frightened eyes. Hello there, little one, she cooed sweetly. Don't be afraid. I'm here to help. She carefully leaned forward and tapped the side of the hole with her beak, hoping to encourage Squeaky to move. But the gentle poke felt like a giant thud to the already nervous mouse. With a startled squeak, Squeaky scampered even deeper into the darkness, his tiny tail disappearing in a flash. Bella blinked, slightly embarrassed. Oops. I think I startled him, she whispered, stepping back. Whiskers sighed softly but smiled. It was a noble try, Bella. Thank you. Bella nodded, flapping her wings gently. Sometimes even the softest touch isn't soft enough. Feeling a mix of disappointment and determination, Whiskers plopped down on the grass and began to think. The warm breeze ruffled his fur as he stared up at the sky, clouds drifting slowly above. His ears drooped slightly, but his mind was still racing. He replayed everything in his head, Henry's strength, Bella's gentle touch, and yet Squeaky was still stuck. There must be another way, he mumbled. Just then, a soft crunch under his paw caught his attention. It was a peanut, a leftover snack from a squirrel perhaps. Whiskers picked it up and stared. And then it hit him. His eyes lit up, his tail shot straight, and he jumped to his feet. What if I gather all the animals in the village to bring their favorite snacks? He exclaimed. Squeaky might not trust paws or beaks, but who can resist the smell of delicious food? Fueled by excitement, he raced around the village like a furry flash of lightning. Everyone! I need your help and your tastiest treats, he called out to every squirrel, rabbit, bird, hedgehog, and even a passing turtle. Curious and intrigued, the animals followed him. Some brought berries they had hidden in the bushes, others carried nuts and seeds in their cheeks, while a few dragged small baskets of fruit with their teeth. There were crunchy leaves, shiny acorns, juicy apples, and even a few sugar cubes from someone's stolen picnic. Before long, a colorful crowd had gathered near the old barn. The animals were chatting, arranging their snacks proudly in front of the hole, turning it into the most tempting buffet a little mouse could ever dream of. When everyone was gathered, Whiskers had the snacks placed neatly around the hole. Berries to the left, sunflower seeds to the right, and a tiny cheese cube right at the center like a shining treasure. The entire village held its breath. With his heart pounding in anticipation, Whiskers raised a paw and signaled for silence. All movement stopped. Wings were tucked in, tails held still, and even the breeze seemed to pause. Dozens of eyes stared at the small dark hole in the wall. First, nothing happened. Then a faint sniffing sound. Squeaky's tiny nose poked out, twitching madly. The scents were too powerful to resist. His whiskers quivered, his ears perked, and slowly, so slowly, he crept forward inch by inch. From inside the hole, his head emerged, then his paws, and finally his furry little body. He blinked in the sunlight, eyes wide at the rainbow of treats waiting just for him. One by one, he stepped out, enchanted by the delicious smells and warm smiles from his fellow animals. All his fears melted away, replaced by hunger and curiosity. He took a nibble of a seed, then a berry, then another, tail swaying happily. And then, as if on cue, the entire crowd erupted in soft, joyful cheers. Whiskers exhaled with relief and pride. His plan had worked. As soon as Squeaky fully emerged, all the animals erupted into cheers. "Whiskers, you did it. You are a true hero," they exclaimed, clapping their paws, hooves, wings, and even tails in celebration. Clearing outside the old barn filled with the sounds of joy, chirps, squeaks, woofs, and giggles. The birds flew in circles above the scene, the squirrels did happy flips, and even the slow turtle raised his head and nodded in approval. Whiskers stood frozen for a moment, wide-eyed, soaking in the applause. Then a slow purr rumbled from his chest, growing louder as he smiled proudly. His cape fluttered in the breeze, and his eyes sparkled with something more than pride. It was belonging. He didn't just save Squeaky. He brought everyone together. And in that moment, he realized being a hero wasn't about acting alone or being the strongest. It was about kindness, creativity, and teamwork. The other animals gathered around him, patting him on the back, meowing, chirping, and whispering, "Thank you." Whiskers closed his eyes for a second and let the warmth of the moment sink deep into his heart. It was a moment he would never forget. However, as the cheers faded and the animals began to settle down, Squeaky turned to Whiskers with a twinkle of mischief in his eye. He brushed a few crumbs from his whiskers, then stood up tall, well, as tall as a little mouse could stand. "Thank you, Whiskers," he said with a cheeky grin, "but I'm a superhero too." Whiskers blinked in surprise, his ears perking up. "Really?" he asked, his voice full of awe. Squeaky puffed out his tiny chest and dramatically spun around, revealing a tiny green cape tied around his neck, made from a single leaf and a thread of spider silk. "Yes," he announced proudly, striking a heroic pose. "I saved snacks from the cat's bowl." There was a brief pause, then the entire group burst into laughter. Even Whiskers couldn't hold back a giggle. He looked down at his friend, admiration glowing in his eyes. "Well," Whiskers purred, "I guess every village needs two superheroes." From that moment on, Whiskers and Squeaky became an inseparable duo. Every day they would don their capes, one leafy green, one tall red, and head out together on new adventures. Whether it was rescuing a lost duckling, helping the hedgehogs cross the stream, or simply sharing stories under the stars, the two heroes proved that being brave comes in all sizes. And so, in the heart of a peaceful little village, the legend of the tiniest superhero team lived on, one meow and one squeak at a time. That moment, laughter filled the air, light, genuine, and echoing like music through the village trees. The animals giggled, chirped, barked, and squeaked in harmony, their hearts full of joy not just from the snacks, but from something far sweeter: connection. From that day on, Whiskers and Squeaky became inseparable buddies. Each morning they tied on their tiny capes, Whiskers with his old red towel flapping proudly behind him, and Squeaky with his crisp green leaf that fluttered with every step. Side by side, they wandered through fields, across creeks, and into new corners of the village where little problems waited to be solved. Together, they weren't the biggest or the fastest, but they were the most creative, the most determined, and definitely the most unexpected superhero team anyone had ever seen. They rescued stuck kittens, helped birds find lost eggs, delivered acorns to sleepy squirrels, and made sure everyone had someone to count on. Wherever they went, giggles followed. Whiskers brought the boldness, Squeaky brought the cleverness, and together they brought magic. And so the legend of Whiskers and Squeaky lived on in every whispered bedtime tale, in every giggle under the stars. Because sometimes being strong or smart isn't enough. Sometimes the greatest heroes are simply the ones who show up together. And that's the end of our story, friends. What do you think makes someone a true hero? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to smile today. Dizzy.